So years ago, I was an absolute hot mess of a new mom. And if you guys watched me back then, I did a lot of like daily vlogs. You'll be sitting here probably nodding your head and being like, yes, Haley, you just could not get it together. I mean, my house was always messy. I felt like I overate because I couldn't deal with like my anxiety. But at the time, everybody was airing the fact that they have anxiety all over the internet. So I started seeing people with their anxiety stories and I started thinking, oh, wait a second, like maybe I have that. Like maybe I have anxiety. That explains why if my child wouldn't nap in the car on the way home from the park, or if she didn't take her nap that day, why I would go into like a complete tizzy fit, because I would start thinking, oh no, she's going to be a terror later. We have to go out for this outing and she's going to be embarrassing and it's going to be so hard on the family and her mood is going to rule over everything. Or I would tell myself, well, that explains why if I don't get my kids down to bed between, I don't even know, 7:30 or 9 at night, if they don't go to bed during this time frame, then I'm not gonna have any time for like self-care, which everybody 100% swears by, and I do to a certain extent. But if I don't have that time for myself, I'm just gonna be like a horrible mom because I'm gonna be burnt out, my cup will be empty, like so many people say, and it's just not gonna be a fun life. You know?
I had multiple kids. Like there are some moms that are watching right now that have, 3, 4, 5 kids and they're stay-at-home moms. And a lot of their kids are like 1 to 2 years apart. Comment below if that's you. But I cannot imagine doing a family of 5's laundry and cooking for them and packing them lunches and driving them to school. Like that is crazy.
Or I would tell myself, well, anxiety, like that is the reason why I can't lose my postpartum baby weight, because I have anxiety. I'm this new mom. It's a transition. Every mom goes through a huge amount of anxiety, which they do to a certain extent. Obviously, as you can tell, I did a lot of explaining and I was identifying myself as like an anxious person over and over and over. Therefore, I would have more anxious thoughts. Therefore, it was hard to control the things in my life, which honestly I could control if I wanted. And at the end of the day, therefore, I became a victim to motherhood. But by my third baby, I had to get things under control, because I was making money online with my husband. So I'd already read and researched a lot of like how to create financial freedom, how to make money on the internet, whatever. If you guys know my channel, that's what we do on the side or full time. And I already did all of that, but like I had no like proper education when it came to managing my emotions in motherhood and also just like managing my role as a mom, like becoming a better mom. I know that's dumb and a lot of people think, oh, it's instinct, it's innate. You just like are born with knowing how to parent your children. But to a certain extent, I just didn't feel that because my mom worked 8 to 5 and she's an amazing mom, like seriously, but I never had like a day-to-day example of like how to organize your life, how to run a family of 5, and let alone now that we've chosen to, how to homeschool a bunch of different kids, So I started reading books. So I swapped out my like entrepreneurial books for these random like OG books from moms and like housewives in the 90s. I think one is like how to be a proper housewife. And I know that a lot of people would frown on that, but I've learned so much. So my mindset has completely shifted from like the victim mentality of a mom and woe is me, I can never get any help around the house, everything's always dirty and I'm never on top of anything, I have no time for me, to I feel like I can do whatever I want and I know how to manage my emotions, my time. I'm not perfect, but that is what I learned through basically re-indoctrinating myself into how to be the best mom I can try to be. I'm going to talk about the victim mentality that I feel, I don't know about you guys, let me know in the comments, but I feel like the victim mentality specifically for motherhood is running rampant all over social media. I mean, there is like a new meme every other day. I'm not gonna lie, they're so funny, they're funny and I used to repost them and I still think they're funny, but it's like, oh, I need my glass of wine at the end of the night or else I can't cope. Nothing wrong with drinking wine, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, like I can't wait for summer break to be over because I'm sick of these kids, which I understand can be true. If you're living with literally your spouse or anybody all the time, you can be tired of them, but it's almost like glorified to not take joy in the role of being a mom. And when you, like I said earlier, like are indoctrinated with those beliefs, with that habits, like with the habits and the way that you think, it's gonna make life miserable like it did for me. So I'm gonna talk about how to cure that victim mentality that most of us, even myself, like on a day-to-day basis, still battle with, and like how to think instead, and also like my biggest regrets, obviously. But by far, the biggest regret I've ever had when it comes to motherhood, it's really that I did not manage my emotions well, and I was a victim to my circumstances. So for instance, my circumstances dictated all of my actions, right? So if I would, like I said earlier, like go to the park and I was like, dude, I'm gonna run my 2-year-old who was really like, she was a, what is that word? A spirited, my firstborn is a very spirited child. Had this, plan in my head. I was like, okay, I'm gonna conquer the day today. I always started out with like a good frame of mind. I was like, let's do this. Like, I'm going to take that child to the park. She's going to run everywhere for like an hour and a half, and then she'll fall asleep on the ride back. Okay. So that was my plan. Then I drive back, I'd look in my mirror, and and you guys know, if you watch my channel, she wouldn't go to sleep, and this could happen even if you have older kids. Like if they're not doing something that you have an expectation in your mind for them that they should be doing, it's like, it's your choice to have that expectation, right? You can't like sit with the fact that it might not happen. And I couldn't either, because having kids for the first time and that transition into motherhood, it is hard for some people, it is a crazy time because you go from what you feel like you have control of everything to now you feel like out of control. You can only try and control so many things when it comes to your kids, like the sleeping and the eating. You can try and do those things to the best of your ability, but nothing is going to be perfect. So when I set these expectations and they went awry, I would freak out and ruin the rest of everyone's day. And I didn't take ownership, like I said, of my emotions. And what I didn't realize is that I feel like nowadays, being a mom, and obviously the dad is equally as in control to a certain extent too, but the mother of the house has almost more power than anybody in a certain sense, because she can set the tone. She has the ability to set the tone for everybody's life. So if you're constantly sour, your whole family's going to be sour all the time. And that's the same thing for your children and your husband too. But you have to just focus on yourself. Like you can't, try and control how they are. But if you try and control your own emotions and not let them be affected by circumstances outside of your control, you won't be projecting negativity onto your kids, their whole upbringing, and your husband. And a lot of people say, well, I have anxiety like I do. But that's no excuse, at least it wasn't for me, for being like a sourpuss all day long because things didn't go according to your plan. I realized that what I was doing back then is I was actually almost like manifesting negative experiences in my life. So for instance, I was looking for experiences to prove my point as to why it was so hard to be a new mom, or to be a mom of a baby, or I would say anything, mom of a 2-year-old, or just a mom in general. Momming is hard. That's like a phrase that is printed on everybody's shirts. It's almost like, oh, it's a pass. Momming is hard. And it can be difficult compared to someone that has no kids, obviously. But if you keep saying that, it's literally gonna be hard. So for instance, I used to say, well, my 2-year-old has a really hard time napping. And so then therefore I would say, listen, I can't do anything like past 3 o'clock. I tell my husband, like, we can't go anywhere because she's gonna throw an absolute terror of a fit, And so one day he was like, just chill out. Like, let's have our friends over. We used to have a life, we used to host dinner parties. So we'd have our friends over and I'd have so much anxiety. I would like think about it, fester on it, be so worried about it, be like grumbling about it, because she was ramping up to have another tantrum. Like it's kind of inevitable. You can't, if they don't nap, they're overtired. And so sure enough, around 5 o'clock, she had a full-on meltdown. Then I would say to myself, like, and to my husband, really, I'd be like, see, like I told you, she literally cannot do anything past 3. Like we can't do anything with our lives. So a lot of people don't think like that. Since learning from other women, that have more structure and routine and honestly a different mental state than I did back then, if their kid did have a tantrum, they would try and calm them down, but they would still maintain a certain happiness about them because they know that some things you just can't change. The second thing that I really regret is really taking ownership of managing my home. So like I said, didn't have like someone to look to as to like organization things. Like my mom was a nurse, so she works like nights sometimes and all day long. Our life was kind of consisted of, I spent amazing quality time in the evenings, eating dinner with my family. I was at school daycare all day, and we ate like fast food. So I didn't see meal planning. I didn't see a lot of like super healthy foods, which is nothing. My parents eat super healthy now, but like, and there's nothing wrong with fast food or eating out. But I didn't see a lot of like structure and like how to manage little tiny kids and like a full-on day and night. So I had to learn a bunch of things about that through these books. So something I learned is that I need to treat being a mom like I was going to an 8 to 5 job, which sounds depressing because most people hate their jobs, right? But I have to love my job, and I do love my job because I love my kids. I needed to schedule my day and take every day very seriously. So being extremely organized when you have 3 kids allows you to achieve anything that you want in life. And this is what I have really found over the last probably like year and a half. We have been able to do so many amazing things because I have taken control of our schedule. My husband, he's so amazing in like any other aspect of life that I suck at, he's really great at. He has a laundry list of all the things he's amazing at, business and just being a happy dad all the time. But one thing that he struggles with, which I think most men do, is like managing little kids' time, thinking of activities for them. Like he'll just like wrestle with them on the ground, but he's not gonna think of like, well, how can I educate them today? You know, it's just not his strong suit, and it's fine. So I had to kind of take that over. And ever since we did, I realized I do have time, because my biggest, you know, claim to fame is I don't have time. I would say that after anything, I don't have time. Well, it's like, you do have time, it's just not a priority for you to do those things. So I have time to work out, which I'm still not the best at. I have time to meal plan. I have time to build a business. I mean, within the last year and a half to 2 years, we've built a 7-figure business online, literally when our kids are napping or when our kids have quiet time. Like that is the time we work. And also when our kids go to sleep. So we work when our kids are sleeping or having quiet time. We've been able to build this like amazingly, you know, just fulfilling business that's very profitable because I schedule that in our days, and I set expectations with the kids, with my spouse, with myself, and I manage my emotions as to like what is possible. So honestly, anything is possible if you have a schedule and if you prioritize those things and fit them into pockets within your day. Honestly, planning the day the night before in like 30-minute to 1 hour increments sounds absolutely neurotic because I'm not like that normally, but I have to do that in order to get things done with little kids. If you got anything from this video, go ahead and comment down below, like this video if you like it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.